Okay, I actually had someone ask in the comments yesterday, because obviously my business knowledge about overheads and so on aren't strong, what I do for a living, and the answer is I'm actually Mike Tyson's boxing trainer. Anyway, in this video I kind of wanted to discuss why I think the Nanocortex is actually a better product than the Quad Cortex, which, I don't know if it sounds a little bit hot takey, but it's kind of my honest opinion on this thing, which I think is actually a simpler, more honed, less confusing, all of these sorts of things. Let's delve into why. I'm actually using the Rock TS1 capture. Those are up in the cloud now if you want to. I had a few people use the old Buy Me a Coffee link. So those are now up there. You need to pair them with your own IR. I found it worked really nicely with a Mezaboogie V30 with a U67 mic on Helix Native. You might find other things that work better.
This channel is supported by TrueFire. TrueFire is an online library of lessons from some of my favourite players. There's thousands of lessons on there. You can use the promo code JNC40 to get 40% off of any of their courses.
One of the really cool things about the Nanocortex for me that the Quad Cortex doesn't have is this sort of universal use type thing where the power supply here, 600 milliamps, 9 to 12 volt DC. Now if you've followed the Quad Cortex thing at all, you know that that has like its own sort of fairly flimsy power supply. I did have an Instagram message from a guy, or maybe an email, kind of asking like what my real opinion on some of these products are. I do give them to you in a video. Like if you look back on my opinions on like the Quad Cortex and stuff, I've definitely not given that sort of like glowingly positive stuff, and I've never actually worked with New Order Company, but that's besides the point. I still think that this one, despite the launch fiasco, is really pretty cool. Some things which I really like about it. So unlike the Universal Audio Enigmatic Overdrive, when you go to connect with this on the app, it has worked for me every single time, touch wood. That has not been the case with Universal Audio stuff that I've used. I've had a few of their kind of pedals, the UAFX things, and my buddy David Beebe had a similar issue, kind of connectivity with those. Let me know in the comments if you're finding that to be the opposite. If you've had any connectivity issues with the Nanocortex, I'd love to know your thoughts. With the big Quad Cortex, early on especially, there were some issues connecting with Wi-Fi. You have to get in there, put in your Wi-Fi password and all that sort of stuff, and then they later on leaked all those Wi-Fi passwords onto the interwebs, so that was cool. Anyway, no such problems with the Nanocortex. It connects every time absolutely fine. You just hold exit and capture as prompted, and you're basically then into the app. The app itself I find really pretty useful and pretty well thought out, so no complaints there. I don't even know, I've not tried the PC editor if there is one yet. I think the actual Quad Cortex doesn't have mobile/tablet connectivity, Bluetooth connectivity yet, but you do have a PC editor, which reports are pretty good on that at the moment. It works as an audio interface quite nicely, and that's really pretty impressive when, of course this is not, you know, totally unique, but like this little guy can literally just fit in like a pocket. I think I saw an article saying that this would fit in a Ziploc bag or something like that, like a sandwich bag. And I definitely say the size is a definite attraction with this thing, because kind of you could put this in your luggage easily. More importantly than that though is what you get with the 4 foot switches for the size. So if you think about something like the HX Stomp with the 3 foot switches, you can have 3 snapshots in that, or you could do various things with the foot switches, like you could have a delay, you could have one cycling through snapshots, toggle snapshots. You do quite a bit of stuff, but I always felt like the HX Stomp was sort of missing one button to really take it to that next step of actual gig use. Whereas this has quite a nifty thing that Fractal kind of have realised the power of the toggle, where a foot switch kind of just toggles between 2 things, not just on and off, but between 2 presets, for example. That's how they do it in here. And there's some element of spillover here, so you know, if you jump between your clean and your lead, or your clean and your dirty, you're going to maintain some spillover. So that's really handy, making it actually kind of giggable as an all-in-one straight to front of house unit. That's really useful. Of course the Quad Cortex could do some of that itself, so you could have basically 4 scenes, and then you could have 4 stomps doing different things, but there isn't actually any toggle setting there, so any one of those foot switches is not necessarily quite as flexible as these are, weirdly as it is to say. The other thing with the Quad Cortex, and this was a thing that I kind of noticed early on, I'm someone who's, you know, used quite a lot of the modelers and stuff. People were finding that dialing in the models was actually not as easy or getting as close to the tones that they were wanting as the captures. And that was something that I used to read all the time early on with the Quad Cortex, that the captures were the best thing about the unit, and how come the captures sound so much better than the modelling, all of that sort of stuff. So in that regard, I think it's quite cool that they've just taken what I think is quite a popular aspect of the Quad Cortex and kind of chucked it into this unit. I've done my own captures, it works really well most of the time, and it's really quite a powerful thing to be able to just take this around and create captures with it, you know, like a £5,000 amplifier, creating captures that I think are really pretty close. I created captures of the Van Wielden Royal Overdrive, again, sort of things that when I'm A-B'ing them, even in my DAW, if I haven't labelled these things properly, I'm really struggling to pick which was which. And I guess that's testament to, you know, the accuracy, or, you know, just how close or these things really need to be to get something out of them. So you don't have that confusing kind of capture modeling divide. You don't have to necessarily worry about plug-in compatibility stuff coming, and it's quite a lot cheaper, obviously, way less powerful, but also the effects that you find in here, because you've got far fewer, I think you might find that you actually start to appreciate some of these effects more than in the Quad Cortex, where in the Quad Cortex I was just cycling through them thinking meh, 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 meh. Whereas in here, because you've only got like the 7 blocks and they're fixed, you've got Mind Hall reverb, you've got the analog delay, you've got the dimension chorus, it's more just encouraging you to get playing, stop tweaking, and that's kind of what I think is quite cool about the Nanocortex. Let me know in the comments if you agree, disagree. I think pair this with an expression pedal for delay and reverb. You can get some really good things out of this. I was speaking to Rob Harris from Jamiroquai. He's got one now, and yeah, I think hopefully he's going to do a video talking about how he's using one and why. I've encouraged him that might be a good idea, but I'd love to hear from other folks that have got the Nanocortex and had either terrible experiences or really good experiences or middle of the road experiences. Do you prefer it to your Quad Cortex? How much money do you want to invest in this sort of stuff? Is it an investment at all? Probably not. But yeah, let me know your thoughts. I'm actually more happy with this than I ever was with the Quad Cortex, and it's kind of just a simpler thing where it's like, right, I can just create a capture of something. Either I want to play that or I won't. Do I want some delay and reverb on that? Yes, obviously. One thing missing from it, maybe up front, you'd think that if it was going to be a perfect all-in-one unit, compressor, drive, something like that, maybe, but I'm assuming that most people are going to be using these on a pedal board with a couple of other pedals, probably. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Is that a better product than the Quad Cortex? Is it less confusing? I think in future there are going to be more effects brought to it if the manual is anything to go by. They have said that it's going to be an ecosystem which is supported. I have no affiliation with Neural DSP, but I think it's quite a cool little product considering the launch.